10 Real, Terrifying U.S. Murder Cases, Decoded Number 1. True Crime Stories. Number 1. The Murder of Kellyanne Bates. Some stories don't just haunt you, they consume you. They leave you with a lingering question. How can someone inflict so much pain on another human being? This is one of those stories. Kellyanne Bates was just 14 years old when she met James Patterson Smith, a man 3 times her age. He seemed ordinary, quiet, unassuming. But behind closed doors, he was something else entirely. At first, it was subtle. He isolated her, manipulated her, took control. By 17, she had moved in with him, and that's when she disappeared from the world. April 16th, 1996. A call to the police. A disturbance at 352 Gorton Road. When officers stepped inside, they found a crime scene so horrific that even experienced investigators were shaken. Kelly had been tortured for weeks. Not days, weeks. Burn marks, stab wounds, broken bones. She had been starved, mutilated. Her eyes were gone. And James Smith? He was calm, no remorse, no regret. Just another predator who had finally been caught. The question remains, how many more like him are out there, hiding in plain sight? Number 2. The Boston Strangler. Albert DeSalvo. Between 1962 and 1964, fear gripped the streets of Boston. 13 women, strangled, left lifeless in their own homes. No forced entry, no signs of struggle. It was as if they had let the killer in. The media called him the Boston Strangler. Women lived in fear, locking doors, looking over their shoulders. And then, as suddenly as it started, the murders stopped. Albert DeSalvo, a man with a long history of violent behavior, eventually confessed. But there was a problem. No physical evidence linked him to the crimes. Was he really the Boston Strangler? Or was the real killer still out there? To this day, questions linger. Did DeSalvo kill all 13 women? Or was the Boston Strangler more than one man? Number 3. The murder of Samantha Josephson, a college student. A night out with friends. A simple mistake that cost her everything. Samantha Josephson was just 21 years old when she called an Uber after a night out in Columbia, South Carolina. But the car she got into wasn't her Uber. The man behind the wheel, Nathaniel Rowland, had sinister plans. He drove her to a remote location where he stabbed her over 100 times. She fought. She tried to escape, but she never made it home. A mistake anyone could have made. A predator waiting for an opportunity. And a tragic reminder, always check the car. Always check the driver. Number 4. The Chowchilla Kidnapping, a school bus, 26 children. And a crime so bizarre it reads like a movie script. On July 15th, 1976, a bus carrying children home from school in Chowchilla, California, suddenly vanished. Hours later, frantic parents learned the unthinkable. Every child and the driver had been kidnapped. Buried alive in a truck trailer deep underground, the children waited. Hours turned to an entire night. Their captors, 3 young men from wealthy families, had planned the perfect ransom scheme, but they didn't account for the bus driver. After 16 hours in darkness, the driver and the children dug their way out. They escaped. And when the police caught the kidnappers, the world was left wondering, how could anyone do this to innocent children? Number 5. The murder of Nikki Whitehead, a mother, twin daughters, and a crime that shattered a family. Nikki Whitehead had spent years trying to give her daughters, Tasmiyah and Jasmiyah, a good life. But behind closed doors, their relationship was anything but perfect. On January 13th, 2010, Nikki was found brutally murdered in her home, stabbed over 80 times. The scene was staged, a robbery gone wrong, the police first thought. But the truth was far more chilling. Her own daughters had killed her. A violent rage, years of tension boiling over, and a moment of irreversible horror. How does love turn to murder? How do daughters become killers? Some questions have no answers. Number 6. The disappearance of Holly Bobo. A small-town girl, a bright future, and a morning that started like any other. Holly Bobo was 20 years old when she walked out of her home in Darden, Tennessee, on April 13, 2011. Her brother saw her talking to a man dressed in camouflage. At first, nothing seemed wrong. Then she was gone. Her body wouldn't be found for 3 years. The man responsible, Zachary Adams, had kidnapped, raped, and murdered her. But why? A random act of violence, a chance encounter that led to death, and a family left searching for answers that would never bring Holly back. Number 7. The Chris Pappas love triangle murder love. Betrayal. Murder. Chris Pappas was caught in a deadly triangle between his girlfriend and her ex. A love story turned into a nightmare when emotions spiraled out of control. One night, an argument turned deadly. The ex-boyfriend, consumed by jealousy, attacked. When it was over, Chris lay dead. Love triangles. Passionate, dangerous, unpredictable. When love turns to obsession, no one is safe. Number 8. The disappearance of Susan Cox Powell. A wife, a mother, and a husband with secrets. Susan Cox Powell vanished from her home in West Valley City, Utah, in 2009. Her husband, Josh Powell, had an alibi. He had taken their young sons camping in the middle of a snowstorm. No one believed him. Years passed. No body was ever found, but Josh's actions grew darker. He lost custody of his children, and then, in a final horrifying act, he took his own life. And he took his sons with him. A mystery unsolved, a family destroyed, and a killer who got away with it. Number 9, the murder of Bianca Devins. She was 17, a rising social media star, and she had no idea that someone she trusted would take her life. Bianca Devins had an online following. She was loved, admired. But one fan, Brandon Clark, wanted more. When Bianca rejected him, he snapped. In a jealous rage, he killed her and posted the photos online for the world to see. A crime driven by obsession. A young life taken too soon. And a terrifying reminder, the internet can be a dangerous place. Number 10. The Ronald Dominique case. A serial killer who hid in plain sight. Ronald Dominique didn't look like a monster. He was overweight, quiet, almost invisible. No one suspected he was one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. Between 1997 and 2006, he lured young men to their deaths, 24 victims in total. And for years, no one even noticed. But evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like the man next door. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next video.